Bali was the last destination in my 4-month-long trip through Southeast Asia. It was incredibly humid and there was a stickiness I hadn't really experienced anywhere yet. The nature is just loud in Bali. When it rains hard. When it blooms, you'll see the brightest colors. And the Balinese use these colors in their daily rituals. I loved the Kanang saris, carefully arranged, hand-woven palm leaf baskets filled with little flowers and a snack of rice. These are put in front of their businesses to ask protection from the gods. Ubud is no longer the spiritual town that maybe once was. I found it incredibly busy, polluted, and I got overwhelmed pretty quickly. Thankfully, I found my way to a rice field. It was so peaceful and empty, and it was marvelous to see such lush greenery around me. I found Ubud a little bit of a nightmare, to be honest. There was so much traffic in such tiny roads. It was even dangerous for both drivers and pedestrians. And I also thought the sellers in the markets were really pushy and really loud as well, which is something I was not expecting from the Balinese people, as they are known globally for being really gentle and nice. I have to say that tourism in Bali is definitely geared towards social media, which is really sad because for all of the tours I took, none of the guides could actually explain anything about what I was looking at, but they were incredibly talented at taking great pictures and making really social media optimized videos. After Ubud, I went to the north of the island to a place called Lovina. It is known for the dolphin viewing tours that you take really early in the morning into the ocean. However, after doing some further investigation, I realized that most of these tours are not ethical at all and are quite damaging for the dolphin population. I didn't want to be a part of it, so I ended up just having a few relaxing days in Lovina, which is not as crowded as the south of the island. And it ended up being brilliant because I stayed in a lovely accommodation with a lovely pool. If you are looking for a place that is unique in Bali and still doesn't have a lot of crowds, I definitely recommend Munduk. It's in the mountains, so you don't really see the ocean, but you do have beautiful landscape around you. And maybe instead of going surfing or snorkeling, what you do in Munduk is hiking and go waterfall hunting. The interesting thing about Bali is that they don't make it easy for you to do these things by yourself. They want you to go with a guide. However, you don't really have to. I did the waterfall trail using the All Trails app, and even though I was a bit scared of getting lost, honestly it was okay in the end. But I remember telling the host back at my accommodation that I had gone alone, and he was pretty shocked. Something else that you need to bear in mind is that even though Bali is very affordable for us tourists, you do have to pay for every single thing, including for each waterfall in this trail. So there's a kind of an entrance fee for each one of them, which is a little bit odd, but obviously the values are very small, but it adds up. It adds up. My accommodation in Munduk was not great. I had an amazing view, but the room inside was pretty dark, humid, and dirty. There were a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of little bugs, and even though I befriended the dog of the family, I was really looking forward to leave, especially when in one of the breakfasts they served me the pancakes and there were live ants in it. And when I flagged it, they just said, "Oh, well, it's sugar, it attracts them," and not even offering for giving me something else. So that was a bit odd. But before leaving, I did take a tour that took me to this beautiful place that you see now. And we did a jungle trek, and it was brilliant. This was a brilliant guide, actually. He explained to me about what it was like to grow in Bali. He told me about all of the medical properties of a lot of the plants. And I also got to have lunch at his family's house. They basically do it as part of the tour, and the food was of course delicious. I mean, the food was delicious everywhere in Bali. I think Bali was definitely food-wise one of my favorite destinations in Southeast Asia. My next destination was Hamed, which is another quieter part of Bali. I really liked it for a few days of peace, to be honest, but there isn't a lot to do, so I noticed that a lot of people went here for diving and snorkeling. I just found the beach and the water as well to be very dirty. And I think this is a problem in Bali for sure. But from the beach you can see Mount Agung, which is an active volcano. Sometimes you can hike it as well, sometimes you can't. And I just found that really spectacular. After Ahmed, I went back to Ubud again. It was just another pit stop. And actually, I did a day trip to Nusa Penida, which ended up being an absolute nightmare. So I would say if you're considering going to Nusa Penida, ignore all of the stuff that you see online praising the island as a place to stay, because it was incredibly crowded. The nature there, it's being completely destroyed. And as you can tell through this video, all this tour was about was taking social media, making social media content, which I'm not into, but my guide insisted, and I'm just there awkwardly smiling to the camera. The roads are dirt roads. There's no space for the amount of cars. It's dangerous. I was actually constantly afraid of just being pushed to the cliff and die. As you can see, the crowds are just insane. I ended up finishing this day very drained and honestly looking forward to just go back to my normal life. I think after 4 months of traveling, culminating with seeing beautiful places like Bali being absolutely destroyed by over-tourism, it was something that was very heavy for me and difficult to process personally. But I was approaching the end, and I treated myself to a really nice tiny studio in Seminyak. It was amazing, it was beautiful, I had all of this space for myself. I don't know why I only did a vertical video, to be honest, but I mean, look at this. Look at this hotel. It was amazing, and it was just 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes from the beach, so it was just perfect to spend my last few days before coming back to Europe in relaxation. The beach was absolutely gigantic, which I really liked. I walked so many kilometers in this beach, and I went always for a morning walk and an evening walk, and then I'll just spend the day reading. I then also visiting Uluwatu, which is definitely worth it. The tour I went with was really bad, to be honest, but again, all of the tours that I did were bad. The drivers were just not interested. No one was really interested in making us have a good experience. But Uluwatu is definitely worth it. It's absolutely stunning. Just be careful with the monkeys. I did see a monkey steal glasses from someone's face, and it was the kind of glasses that you do need to be able to see. So just be very careful with that. These guys are little tricksters. And then in the evening, we saw the famous fire dance, which again was overly crowded, but it was a really nice experience anyways, and I just felt I couldn't be in Bali and not seen it. On my last day before departing Bali, I found some little galleries in Seminyak, and I just found amazing art. Just look at this. Got a few souvenirs and got ready to go back to my normal life. There's a lot of goodness in Bali, but I am worried that the goodness that I see and that I experience might soon disappear if the exploration of local resources continues and over-tourism kind of takes over the island and the locals are just forced to leave elsewhere. We have at last reached the end of my South East Asia diaries. Feel free to check my other videos, and if you enjoy this content, give me a like and a follow, and maybe I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!